The Prime Minister this week refused to commit to releasing the full details of something Labor's been promising for years now. Its big plan called Nature Positive. That's a plan to make sure that whatever we develop, we're actually going to leave nature in even better shape, which sounds to be ominous, and also do even more to protect Aboriginal cultural heritage. Joining me is the opposition's environment spokesman, Jonathon Duniam. Jonathon, great to see you again. No details still from the government. What's going on, do you think?
Well, Andrew, g'day from a very wet Tasmania, and Tim Flannery must be incredibly relieved that our dams are starting to fill with all of this rain. But I've never known governments to hide good things. They only hide bad things. The fact that we were told by Tanya Plibersek and Anthony Albanese at the last election that we didn't have a minute to spare, we had to save the world through new environmental laws, and that terrible coalition government had left us in such a bad state. Well, we were supposed to have the laws in Parliament by the end of last year. The consultation process hasn't even finished. Not a skerrick of legislation has been drafted. So it puts paid to this urgent nature of what they were planning to do. But I think the real problem here for Labor is you've got a minister in an inner city seat where she's fighting off the Greens to hang on to her seat in Parliament. She wants to do everything she can to stop job-creating projects that drive our economy. But then she's got other people in her own party room, her own caucus, who are begging her to do the right thing by the economy. And she knows common sense prevails. So she's caught between the left and the right of her own party. And that's why they haven't progressed these laws, because they know they cannot please everyone.
And of course, they'd like to spring them after the election when it's too late to object. But Jonathon Duniam, I got to say, whenever I hear, you've said this a number of times, where's the plans? Bring it on, bring it on. And I'm thinking, no, don't, because I'd rather they stayed in the cupboard, to be honest. What's your attitude here? What's your big plan?
Well, we've got to go back to basics. I mean, for goodness sake, government gets involved in too much, the federal government in particular. I think states and territories, generally speaking, as far as one can trust a government, know best what to do in their own jurisdiction. But we've got to get some common sense injected back into these laws. We've got to restrict the time it takes for projects to be approved. We've got to restrict third-party standing, in my view, so some cashed-up activist in Sydney can't stop a project going ahead in remote Western Australia. We've got to be able to provide certainty to investors so they can create jobs in our community and dig up the minerals we need to build the things we need to build and generate the energy we need to generate. They're the things that we'll be looking to do. It's pretty simple. It's not a rocket science, and we'll work with industry and we'll work with the community to make sure we do it. But Labor seem unable after 2 years to be able to do this, and I think it's a shame on them. And the environment movement are castigating them as well, which I think proves they have lost their way.
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to be on the same side as the Greens on this one. But just quickly, Jonathon Duniam, more cultural heritage laws are actually part of this. It's not just nature positive, right? That's what Plibersek also wants, Tanya Plibersek, the Environment Minister. When we're already getting non-Aboriginal Australians locked out from some popular tourism sites, as we discussed earlier, and even potentially Lake Eyre. I mean, golly, do we really need more of these cultural heritage laws?
No, Andrew, we don't. What an outrage. What kind of a country are we living in where we are isolating certain parts of our country for people who have a specific racial or ethnic background? In some cases, I know it's based on gender too. There are some culturally sensitive sites where only men can go to in Aboriginal cultures. Look, I honestly think this is a bad move. We saw what happened in Western Australia when they brought in their WA cultural heritage laws, which were a disaster, and they had to repeal. I reckon, and this is the same as the Nature Positive plan, they're going to hold it off till after the election. They may well be in partnership with the Greens in a hung parliament. It will be worse than we thought it ever would be, and this is what we need to drive to in the lead up to the election.
Well, now I'm starting to see why it really needs to be out in the open now, not in the witch's brew that we're probably going to get after the election. Jonathon Duniam, thank you so much for that.